Hi, I'm Ben Hobson, Chief Content Officer at Dezeen, and very happy to be here at Kasthall's Milan showroom to talk about their brand new product called Quilt. We'll be talking about that product at the end, but to start off with, we'll be exploring the history of the brand and some of the innovations that have kind of led us to this point. I've got a lovely panel with me today that I'll be speaking to who will be telling you all about this. I'm very pleased to be joined by Lena Jiseborn, Peter Eriksson, and Ellinor Eliasson, all from Kasthall, and also Ulla Rune from Claesson Koivisto Rune, who also acts as a kind of creative consultant for the brand. Before we get stuck into the conversation, maybe each of you could introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about what you do and what your relationship with Kasthall is. Starting with you, Lena.
With me? Oh, hi. Well, I'm the head of design and range. I've been working at Kasthall for 7 years now. I'm a textile designer. I got in contact with the Kasthall from my former job as a color and trim designer in the car industry. When I was doing my first concept car, I wanted to do something really special with a floor in the interior, which has a great impact of the image of an interior. So I went to Kasthall and asked them to fulfill my ideas. And I've always been very inspired by Kasthall. So, and ever since then, we had great contact. And then I was asked to come and join the company.
Great, thank you very much. Peter?
Well, I'm Peter, yes. My mainly focus now today is business development and project developments, but I have done a great journey within Kasthall family since 1991. I started as a hand tufter, and after a while I went to be the manager for that department and been around on many different departments of Kasthall during the year, and spending the last 10 to 12 years in the Kasthall Design Studio as a product developer, as product manager, and many different things. So I've done a lot.
And I think you need to raise your arms so everyone can see that you've actually got a rather special tattoo.
That's what you get after 31 years. Yeah.
So that's true dedication. Yeah. Thank you, Peter. And Elena, what about you?
I'm Ellinor. I'm a designer at Kasthall. I've been at Kasthall for 7 years. Started as an intern in 2015, almost the same time as Lena started. And since I've been working a lot with the collection and special projects that we do and all kinds of things. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And Ola, what's your relationship with Kasthall?
Well, my relationship starts from our normal work as architects from Claesson Koivisto Rune, where I'm one of the partners. I'm Ola Rune, and my two other partners, Eriksson Koivisto and Morten Claesson. When we do projects, we normally try to design some specific items, and the carpets, they have quite a big impact of how you feel the room. So we started in about 17 years ago to collaborate with Kasthall when we did a very prestigious restaurant in Stockholm, and the owner wanted to have Kasthall, so fortunately we started working together with Peter at that time.
Nice. And since that, what's your role with the brand today? How has that developed?
Well, when we do projects, we ask Kasthall if they are willing to help us. And the last project we finished was opened 2 weeks ago in Bergen, Norway, where we have made a printed wall-to-wall carpet. And you will see it soon in the papers. It's quite spectacular. And also I come in 3 or 4 times a year. I come to Kasthall and we have creative talks together. I see what Ellinor and Lena has been doing, and trying to see from my side what I can help and how I see it, and if there is anything that needs to be changed or developed. So we decide to get together, but I have a sort of a coming from the outside looking in to see what's going on.
Great, thank you very much. Peters, you've got the tattoo. I'm going to go to you for this question, but tell us about Kasthall. What is the brand? For people that aren't familiar with it, where are you based? What's the history of the brand?
Well, the history of the brand, we need to jump back 133 years. So by the 1st of May in 1889, a guy, 27-year-old guy called Ludwig Andersson, decided to start his own rug weaving company, the first industrial in Sweden, actually. So he started with renting an old jacquard loom factory 2 kilometers away from where we are located today. Only after a few years, after 5 years or so, he needed to expand his production, looking for a new piece of land to build a spinnery. He found it in 1895, yes. And the name of that land was Kasthall. While the years went on, we were doing lots of investments in new looms. In the 1940s, we invested in our first shaft weaving looms. That's the one that we use today. Started to weave those qualities as Hego, which is one of our bread and butter today. In the 50s, we focused more in design. Well, design, craftsmanship, and quality had been 3 very important things throughout the years. But in the 50s, we really focused in designs to contact those famous Swedish textile designers from the time, as Astrid Sampe and Ingrid Dessau. And those ladies, I think, were the first one who really brought us out in the world seriously by attending in New York World Fair exhibition in the Swedish pavilion. They were decorating those, and we went to be a great name also in New York.
You mentioned that you first got involved with Kasthall because your client said, I want Kasthall. I mean, that's obviously a big endorsement for the brand. But from your point of view, why do you continue to work with Kasthall? Why do you recommend it to your clients? Why do you want to put Kasthall rugs in your projects?
Well, first of all, it's a lot easier to start a conversation with someone that you know. So from that moment when we did our first project together, Kasthall had a designer called Gunilla Ullberg, and we immediately got a very good close contact, and we did the first projects really much together. She was a fantastic eye for the colors and how to go from a sketch into to the final piece, and it makes it so much easier for us as architects to know that the quality will be as we and our clients wish for, and I think that talks for itself. I mean, we sometimes work with other companies, but we tend to come back to Kasthall. We are unfaithful sometimes, but that's how it is. That's how life is. But we are married to Kasthall in a way.
Kasthall is a long-term relationship. That's the true love. And Elena, you said that you started Kasthall as an intern initially. This new product that we'll come on to talk about later is the latest. From your point of view, why did you want to work to Kasthall? What does the kind of history and the heritage of the brand mean for you? And how do you kind of work with that to create new kind of ideas and new products?
Well, for me, I've always been interested in working with a company that has its own production. I think that is something that is a very a good strength, and also where you can be very creative in kind of some limits. So that's kind of what drew me to Kasthall, that we have the production in Sweden, that we have the quality and the possibility with an own design studio, and so.
Well, I guess that's one of the attractions for you to work with Kasthall. Maybe talk a bit about that when you're specifying Kasthall for a project. How much kind of dialogue is there between you and Kasthall in terms of kind of creating something bespoke for a particular project?
Well, it has been different in how elaborate our ideas has been, and if there are too difficult, we don't do them. But no, it goes back and forth, and we are, sometimes we need to test and to see whether the idea is possible to do. For instance, 2 years back, we made a hotel in Tokyo. As a reference for Japan, we made a carpet, a woven carpet that was called tatami. After some thinking, we realized that we can weave it, sort of say, from the wrong side, from 180 side, and then only make the carpet 90 centimeters. So we got 2 borders, which tatami mat has. They have a sewn, beautiful borders. And this was a relationship with Ellinor for in this case, that we tried to see how can we do it and how elaborate can we do the border and so on. And the Japanese were very surprised that we are taking their classic and we made it into our classic. So it is sometimes you have to play a little bit with what you have around you, and it became a very beautiful carpet to have in the hotel.
Lena, you've got some more samples there. Do you want to take us through these as well?
Yeah. I would say that next iconic rug is it's called Moss, and designed by Gunilla. She wanted to do this wool rug, but with something extra. You were at that time.
Yeah, I was working as a product developer with one of my colleagues back then, and actually we got the yarn from specification from Gunilla's, and we placed them in the machine while she was still in Stockholm. So we spent one evening. Actually, we were tearing our hair because we didn't get it to work at all. So we called Gunilla and said, "Sorry, it doesn't work. Well, please send it up to me, and I can judge." And we did, and we just expected her to just throw it away. And then she said, "Hallelujah! This is the best thing I ever seen." I didn't think it was possible, but exactly the way I want it, because those linen threads are hanging out randomly, and our goal was always to have a surface as even as possible. So this became one of Kasthall's in modern history greatest success ever.
Iconic products of a mistake, but actually also probably she had an idea, something wild and crazy.
And that kind of leads on to one of the questions I wanted to ask. Like, what's the relationship between kind of like the tradition, the heritage, the kind of the craft that has been there for over 100 years, and designers that want to do new things, want to push things? How does that relationship work? Are the people that make the rugs, are they happy with it, or do they still think that should be much more level? What's that relationship like, and how does it work?
Well,
probably in the beginning they felt that this is strange. And,
but I think that it was exactly on time. This thing, and we had been weaving rag rugs since or Ria rugs since many years before, but they were, as Lena said, totally out. And then when we finally brought it back, it was exactly in time, and people fell in love with it. All the new designers, they liked
I would say that it was
we did too.
Inspiration for many. Yeah, you fell in love.
Have you used this in your projects?
Yeah, we don't only use our own designs. No, we use whatever we feel like works well with the project. So this one was one.
And we work with natural material, wool mostly, but then as well linen. And after Moss was born, Gunilla developed 100% linen rug as well, with a high pile, and that was also a sensation at that time, and brought us out on the global market. Actually brought us here to Italy and Milan.
It was you could say because of those two qualities that we again made a great impact out in the world, and especially here in Italy during the Salone, and we only 1 year after or so we opened our first showroom here. So and then also in New York a couple of years after.
What is it about these that caught the imagination of the Italians, and you think what was?
I think it caught their attention in the beginning, but now it's more a product. You could say that the further north you come in Europe, the better they sell. Because in a climate like this here today, this is not what you want to step on probably. But at that time, they made a great success.
That's why we also have been developing this tufting technique, not only doing high pile, also doing low pile, and also doing bouclé. And so we have a wide range of products in bouclé and low pile. And that is also something that we tried to test how it could be even developed further, mix and match. Could one mix colors, patterns? I mean, with a tufted rug, you can work very freedomly when it comes to pattern and size and shape. And now this year, we have really tested our machineries and design ideas with the designing cut and loop products.
Do you want to tell us a bit more about that then?
Yeah, so let's show the rug. It's called Quilt. It's a tufted rug, but the inspiration comes from woven textiles where the warp and weft, the color mixes, but also a Japanese boro textiles where patchwork fabrics are sewn together and create new patterns to kind of save the old clothes and textiles. So that's the inspiration. So I wanted to create a tufted rug that kind of pushes what we do with the tufting today. At Kasthall. So the rug has this kind of patchwork design in the middle and then a border around it. The surface is 2 different heights of bouclé, a quite low one and 6 millimeters, and then a bit higher bouclé, combined together with this cut surface. The lines that you see is tufted. That's the first thing that's tufted, and then the squares are produced going in a diagonal direction, also to give it a more woven feeling. It's in wool and linen, combined using the yarns we usually use in the tufted, but in a new way. A few colors, but a lot of combination that creates quite a living surface, yeah.
And how popular are you in the factory? How difficult is it for this to make?
Well, it's been not so easy. But also one thing that it's kind of a close collaboration between me and Maitan, who is the product developer for the tufted, where we work very closely and do a lot of samples before we go out in production and try it in the big tufting frames. So we have quite a safe way before we start in the big machines, yeah.
And Ellinor, you also always involve the production personnel, so they feel that they are a part of this, and that will make them also want to help and find better solutions to have it working well.
Yeah.
And the product's called Quilt, we should say, which is what we're here in Milan to launch. Tell us about the different kind of colours that it comes in and how you kind of chose those. What was the process behind that?
Yeah, so it comes in 2 colorways. This one is called bronze green, and then there is one that's called terracotta sand. It's a beige terracotta combination. From the beginning, we did a few colorways when sampling and from inspiration and so on. But then we had 3 finalized that we kind of choose from. In this one, you have the darker border, maybe a bit more elegant, and then the lighter terracotta sand has a light border, so it kind of gets 2 different expressions in a way.
Yes. And when you were developing this, did you have a kind of particular goal in mind, something you wanted to aim for? Did you want to just like experiment with the new techniques? What was the kind of motivation for behind it?
A lot to experiment with the different techniques, but also combining different tufting techniques, putting them together, and also creating a new expression for Kasthall rugs. Yeah.
But what I think is very interesting in this and the rug that Ellinor made, I think it's 2 years back, it's called Feather, where you also have a border. You have some of the most interesting things are happening around the edge of the carpet, and perhaps only the only thing that you see on a carpet, because if you have a sofa on it, and everything disappears. So it's the border is the thing that is joining this design to the feather, but they are totally different as rugs. And the feather we have used in projects already, so why shouldn't this be possible?
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for Kasthall for hosting us. And yeah, the rugs are there in the window, so take a look. And thank you very much.